Hello, today I'm going to review service notes and EVV policy. The thing that's very unique about this policy is that we cohesively came up with this policy with the other administrators and coordinators. So as a team, we all came up with this policy. So I think that it is from the perspective of the entire team. What we're going to outline today is the importance of service notes and EVV submissions, process of submissions, reviewing the submissions, and consequences for failing to submit notes and EVV submissions. I will get into detail in regards to what exactly EVV is and who exactly needs to utilize that system. Why are service notes and EVV important? The first thing is that it's required by the Office of Developmental Programming, along with other regulations that govern BOLD. We cannot legally bill for the time that you've worked if you haven't submitted through EVV or through submitting your notes. Without funding, we can not pay staff. It's really that simple. We get our funding, and our funding is connected to service notes and or EVV. And then it also affects pay increases. So imagine you're somebody that doesn't get in your notes and 5 other staff members don't get in their notes either. And then it's just a trickle down effect. And, you know, it's a lot more than what it seems like if it's just you. It's not just one person doing it. Let's say it's 15 people doing it, then obviously we're going to have less funding coming in, and obviously we won't be able to pay our staff if we're not getting paid for the time that you guys are spending with people we support. So first I'm going to cover service notes, and then I will be covering EVV. So the process of enforcement for submission of service notes. Employees' service notes must be submitted within 24 hours of providing the service. You have an opportunity to utilize 15 minutes at the end of your shift or after your shift. So you can do your notes at the house on the computers. Coordinator will review and notify the employee of missing notes by noon on Thursday. Coordinator will give employee 1 chance to get notes in for Friday by noon. Coordinator will notify HR if notes are not received by 5 p.m. on Friday. HR will contact the employee and give a verbal warning and a final deadline before a written warning. Employee will be suspended for any notes past the written warning. Multiple HR involvement in 30-day time frame. So this kind of goes in step with some other policies as far as time frames. If HR is involved 2 times in a 30-day period, you'll get a verbal warning. So for example, let's say this week you fail to get your notes in, and it reaches the point where HR gets involved, then and then that happens again next week, then you'll be getting a verbal warning. If HR is involved 3 times in a 30-day period, then you would be getting a written warning. So for example, let's say 3 weeks in a row, you have reached the point where HR has gotten involved, then you're going to be getting a written warning. Any missing notes beyond that will result in further action up to and including suspension without pay. Process of EVV. So EVV is a process that is only used in in-home and community supports. So if you do not do in-home and community supports, then you would not be using EVV. The interesting thing about EVV is that is something that there is zero forgiveness. So when we lay this out, there's very little room for wiggle when it comes to submission of EVV. And EVV is a way of clocking in when you're providing in-home and community support. So this would be a lot of some of the people that work in the community. I'm sure if you don't know what this is, then you don't use it. If you know what it is, then that means you use it, because everybody that uses it currently is aware that they use it currently. So you must clock in when you arrive at the individual's home. You must clock out when you leave the individual's home. The time of clock in and clock out must match the service notes. Any additional time worked should be indicated on your timesheet. So for example, we're talking travel, picking up vehicles, going to another person's home. That's all going to be something that you're going to put on your timesheet. And so this is very specific. The clocking in and clocking out is very specific to the time that you're spending with the person that you're supporting. So you will get time, you will get paid for things like picking up vehicles and travel and things like that. But that's going to be happening on your timesheet. The EVV isn't necessarily connected to your timesheet as much as it's connected to our funding source. And this is done in a 15-minute increment. EVV, and again, EVV enforcement is a little bit different than service notes because there's zero room. There's zero room for error. If you do not sign in and out, we cannot bill at all. It's simple. It's that simple. An HR note will be submitted for every offense. So anytime somebody fails to sign in or out for a shift that you need to utilize EVV, then an HR note would be submitted. If an employee fails to clock in or out 2 times in 30 days, they will receive a verbal warning. If an employee fails to clock in or out 3 times in 30 days, they will receive a written warning. Any missing EVV beyond that will result in further action up to and including suspension. Thank you.